It's decal day. It is decal day. So I will premise this video by saying anything said or heard in this video should not be shared with your kids. I'm joking. But decals bring me a level of frustration that hopefully you don't get to see tonight. But I figured we haven't done decals yet on the live, so I wanted to show you guys how I do my decals. So if you would mind just hitting that little share button, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and share to a couple groups as well. And we'll be ready to rock and roll. So how's everybody's week been so far? Is everybody having a nice productive week? I swear every day they change where they put this share button in here, and sometimes it causes me much pain just to share my videos. All right, so just waiting for a couple more folks to join and we will get started. I know this is a little bit of a change of scenery, so we're back in the house. Typically you see me out in the garage, but today we're in the house. We're gonna work with the Cricut. So does anybody out there have a Cricut machine? I'll show you what my Cricut looks like. It's this handy dandy little Cricut machine. You press the button and turn it on and open it up. All right, so we're going to use the Cricut today to create the decals, and then I'll show you how I apply them. And you've already seen some of the process where I've applied epoxy. So we're kind of piecemealing the entire process together, but this should be a pretty fun, little demo on how to do decals. And by all means, I am not the Cricut guru, so if anybody out there has any tips, I'm willing to learn from you, because again, I try to keep it a G-rated show, but man, sometimes this thing just frustrates me. I think the most frustrating thing is when I go to put the decal on and then I gotta take it off and peel it off with the little hook tool. Oh man. And then I gotta recut the vinyl. Yeah, it's just painful sometimes. So yeah, anybody out there with a Cricut, if you could just raise your hand, and I'd love to know who you are, because I'm gonna try and steal some tips from you. All right. All right. So yeah. So any Cricut owners out there? All right, so today I'm still working on cups from the fundraiser that we did, and finally wrapping that up. So the fundraiser, we sold upwards of 72 tumblers, and we're going to be able to donate over $700 to the family. So I'm so proud of that. It feels so good to be able to give back to the community, and specifically a family who is so much deserving for the extra help in their time of need. So these cups are non-glitter cups that are just going to be decaled, and then we're going to epoxy them. So I chose to do these to get together because if anybody who's worked with glitter before, you know how difficult it is to keep glitter off of anything. It's literally through my entire house. But we'll do these non-glitter cups today, and I'll epoxy them all together in an attempt just to keep the glitter off of them. So the first thing we're going to do is I make all my decals from an iPad. I use the Cricket's app that came with the machine itself. And let me just grab my iPad. So the first cup that we're going to work on today, this is going to be a Donora Dragons cup with a name on the back of it. So the Old English D. I found it on the internet, and I'll show you how to import the lettering into Cricut, and then we're going to print it actually I think on white vinyl. Not print it, we're going to cut it out of white vinyl, and then we'll attach it to the cup after we cut it out. And then the other ones that we are going to do tonight, let's see. Of course you hear my louder than loud son, because you always hear him before you see him. We're going to do a solid black Menneson cup with the name Dennis, and we're also going to do a solid black Donora cup with the name Frank. So I'm going to put that in orange vinyl, and then another Menneson cup that just has a decal, no name. So in orange we're going to do the D with Frank, and then in white we're going to do the Donora D with the name Shep. We're also going to do the name Leanne and the name Dennis in white. So we'll do all the white ones together and then all the orange together, just because it's easier to cut it all at once rather than doing it separately. So I think I'll work on the orange one first. We'll do that one and get it out of the way. So the name that's going to go on the orange one is Frank, and I use a program on the computer, not a program but a website. It's called Dafont, D-A-F-O-N-T, because they have some really neat fonts. I like them a lot better than the fonts that came with the Cricut app. So what I do is I find the font that I like and I take a picture of it, and then I'll import the picture into my iPad. So I'm gonna have my tech guy, aka my husband, partner in crime, focus down on the iPad here so you can see what I'm doing. So the name that I want to upload, I've already saved it. It's a picture, the name Frank. So I'm going to go and hit upload, and it's saved as a photo within my iPad. So I'm going to click photo, and then hopefully my app doesn't act up on me. Let's try it again. All right, I closed GoPro. Hopefully it didn't shut down my app. All right, so I'm gonna open Cricut back up again and start a new project, and I'm gonna upload from the photo. There we go. The name Frank. So here's the font that I had picked out. It's like a nice block, sportsy type font. And I want to remove all of the white area behind it, because what is up in this little preview window is what it will end up being. So I'm just gonna hit the remove button and then hit the white areas. And then I can expand it to enlarge it, and I'm going to remove the letters, remove the white space in between the letters. And you could see this is what it's going to look like in this preview window. So once I'm happy with that, I just hit the next button. If I wanted to, I could smooth out the edges, and you would just hit the smooth button. And what that does is whenever you have a picture or anything that may have a little bit of a jagged edge, if you hit that smooth button, it smooths it all out real nice. And then you hit the next button, and it's going to ask to save it. So we'll just name it Frank, and we're going to save that as a cut image. There's two different types of images you could save them as. You could either save it as a cut image or print then cut image. So I've done some of the Monessen logos from the fundraiser. I do these as a print and cut because I print this on my printer and then I bring it back to the Cricut machine and cut it out. So you can see here where I've already removed one of the M's from Monessen. It pulls this adhesive, this printable vinyl off, just like a sticker, and then I can put it on the cup after I've printed it. But for this one, since we're gonna actually be using black vinyl, orange vinyl, I'm gonna save this as a cut image so that it's only cutting out the orange because the vinyl is already orange. All right, so once we have the name there in our image, I'm just gonna insert the image, and now it's in our main screen. So now we have to size it. If you hit the edit button and you see it's gonna say width and height. What I like to do is take a tape measure. You can just use this measure, and I get my cup and measure how big it is and how long I want the decal to be. So I'm gonna put this decal on vertically. The name Frank, I'm gonna put it on vertically, and I'm also gonna put the D on the other side vertically, obviously. So with this cup, I typically do a horizontal decal, a picture decal like the D. I do that in a 3-inch wide, and then for the name that I'm gonna do on the other side, the cup is just about a little over 10 inches, and I probably don't want the decal to be any wider than like 1.5 inches. So I'm just gonna set the width, because you see that I'm gonna set the height of this decal to 1.5. And that means that it's gonna be about 3.5 inches long on this cup. So that just gives me kind of an idea of, it's probably gonna be about this long, the name. Now let's see how much it would be if I upped it to 2 inches wide. Then that would be 4.5 inches. So that would be about that long. It's gonna be a pretty big name. Yeah, let's go for it. All right, so I already uploaded that D before. So let's upload it. So because I've already uploaded that D and I'm gonna reuse it, I'm gonna use the Open Uploaded Images button. And then just find it in the images that I've already uploaded. So we see it right there, and we're gonna insert it. And we said that we want this to be about 3 inches wide. Oops, wrong image. We changed the name instead of the D. So select the D, and we want it to be 3 inches wide, which is gonna make it about 4.37 inches high. So now we're gonna hit the Make It button. Hey, I see a couple friends watching. Renee, Cheryl, Chris, Jessica, Lisa, Cheryl Fleming, Kim, thank you all for joining. Greatly appreciated. Renee, I know you had some interest in getting a Cricut. Did you ever break down and get one? All right, so we hit the make it button, and this is what it's gonna look like laid out on our mat. Now, when you print or you cut vinyl on you need a mat. And these mats are sticky. And it comes with a plastic sheet on the top that you save. And so far we have on the screen, we're in the make it process. You see we've got our Old English D and the name Frank that we're putting on this cup. So what I always do is, this is how the mat is gonna look. And the mat is sticky. So it's holding my vinyl to the mat. And of course they come in large sheets, like they'll come in big 12 by 12 sheets of vinyl or even rolls. Like some vinyls I buy in the larger rolls if I expect to use a lot of it, or it's just a little bit more economical. But when you save your pieces, you end up with a piece that isn't just perfectly square. So when you're viewing your mat, you're gonna have to drag your names around to get them where you want them. So I'm gonna drag the name Frank over to that section because I could see on my mat that I've got like a 3-inch height that I can work with, and it goes all the way over to 8.5 inches. And the D is bigger than what that would need to be. So I know that if I go over to 5 inches, that I've got a lot bigger of a block to be able to work with. So I'm gonna just put the D right there. Actually, I think I'm gonna rotate the D so I can save my vinyl. Nope, that's not gonna fit. We need to keep it this way because there won't be enough room on the right side of the mat because the mat's only going to go over to about 8.5. So if we have the layout like this, we should be able to catch it on the vinyl the way that it is. So we hit continue, and through the magic of Bluetooth, we're going to find our Cricut machine to cut. Now on the Cricut machine itself, I'm going to make sure that it's set to the setting between vinyl and iron-on. So you can see on Cricut there's a lot of different settings depending on what type of material you're using. So I'm going to set it to the one in between vinyl and iron-on. I found that that one works the best. And we'll wait for our button to turn blue, which means that the Bluetooth is synced up, which it has. And then we will feed the mat into the machine by hitting that button. And then once the machine knows that it's ready, you hit the flashing little Cricut button and it's going to start doing its thing. The machine's fairly quick in cutting out the decals, but obviously the more you have that you're trying to cut out on one page, the longer it's going to take, but it's pretty quick. Hi Erica, yeah, so I use my iPad for the projects, which I guess is probably similar to your iPhone. I know that through the Designs, I think it's called Design Studio app that comes with the Cricut, that it allows you to use different devices. So if you wanted to use a PC or a Mac, you can do that for sure. I just found that the iPad works really well for me, but I think it's all just a matter of preference. Now, I know that there are some times when I need a photo edited. So for example, I did a cup that had an owl face on it, and my husband, who has a MacBook, he photoshopped the owl eyes to a different color because I wasn't able to do that on my iPad. Now, I know that there's a whole ton of apps I probably could have, but I don't have the patience for it. So so he did that for me real quick because he's really good at that stuff. But all right, so what I'm just doing is cutting out the two different images that we just cut. And I'll save this little scrap of orange for something else later. So once you cut it out, this little tool is called a weeding tool, and essentially what I want to do is take away all of the background vinyl that I'm not going to attach to my cup. And this tool will let you just grab the edge and then just start peeling it away. And for the most part, with bigger fonts like this, it's pretty easy. It does get a little bit tedious, I will say, if you're doing little teeny tiny fonts. But you can see how nice that came out. So we'll do the same thing with the D, and if you kind of look close, you could see where an edge is that you know that you're going to want to pull away so that you've got something to grab onto. So there's other types of machines that you could use too. So I have the Cricut machine. I know that there's a machine called a Silhouette that does essentially the same thing. So you could see now the names in the D, the name in the D are, it's called weeding. So they're weeded and they're ready to go on the cup. And you could see kind of the size that they're going to end up being. So the name is kind of large, but since those are the only two decals that are going to go on this cup, and it's a solid black cup, I think that they're going to look nice together. They'll be nice and bold so that you'll be able to see them. Now the next thing you want to do when you're getting ready to apply your decal is, I use transfer tape, and I bought this roll on Amazon, fairly inexpensive, and it's essentially just a roll of clear sticky paper. And what that's going to do is allow you to basically pick up your decal from the paper backing and attach it to your object. So since this isn't a great big roll, I just keep cutting off little pieces to what I need, and the transfer tape is actually reusable, so I will reuse the same piece of transfer tape until it's not sticky anymore, or it's just too far gone to be able to pick anything up. All right, so there's this, and it's about the same size, maybe a little bit larger than our D. So I'm just going to flatten and smooth it out. There's also a little smoothing tool that came with my Cricut machine. You can see it's got like a flat edge. And I just want to make sure that there aren't any bubbles and that it's nice and flat to pull off of the paper. Now before I do that, I did make a fancy tool to help stabilize my cup out of a pool noodle and some duct tape. So it allows me to lay my cup down so that it's not going to roll anywhere when I go for my decal. And I'm going to spin you down a little bit because I'd like to look down on my design, so I put it on the bar stool chair. So if I'm looking straight down over top of my object that I'm putting the decal on, then I feel like I get a better chance at not messing it up and putting it on level, or yeah, putting it on straight. So as you can see, this transfer tape, the clear tape, it pulled the decal off of the paper backing. And now we're just going to adhere it to the cup. And just by kind of eyeing it, I eye it up and then I take a look back before I smooth it down, make sure that it looks good. And then you start from the center and work your way out so that it pushes any possible bubbles out of the vinyl. Because if you have a bubble underneath your vinyl on your cup, you're going to be able to see it once you put epoxy over it. So then we just grab the piece of the transfer tape, make sure that it's pressed down really well. And then slowly pull that transfer tape up off. If it's still adhering to the transfer tape, just push it down and try and re-stick the vinyl to the cup again. And just slowly pull it back. And there you have it. So we'll do the same thing with the word Frank. So I'm going to reuse my transfer tape. And come over the word Frank. I'm going to leave this word together. So I don't want to do it letter by letter because on this paper, these letters are already lined up. They're evenly spaced. And that's the way that I want it on the cup. So I'm going to do them all together so that they stay in that same spacing. All right, so we've got the transfer tape down. We'll slowly peel it away so that we've got the word. And then once I come down here, I look at where the center is. And I get my fingers, I look at where the center is so that I could line it up on the opposite side. So again, there's the center, and then I line it up to the opposite side of my cup. And this one I'm gonna position vertically. So I'm just gonna lightly adhere it, take a step back, and eyeball it for lack of better terms, I'm gonna eyeball it to make sure that it is where I want it. And then starting with the center, I'm gonna press it down from the center to the outside. Now it's important that you make sure that you're pressing the vinyl down really good on the edges, because once you go to put epoxy on, it will catch the edge of it and it'll lift if your edges aren't pressed down really well. So the transfer tape will allow you to press it down really well. And you could even use that little tool if you wanted to. I just prefer to press it down with my thumbs and then peel up the transfer tape. There you have it. So you can see how nice that came out. The Cricut does a nice job cutting out the vinyl, and then it's just a matter of making sure that you line it up straight and even on the cup. So I've got another cup that I'll show you. This one is going to be a solid black cup with that Monessen decal. So as I mentioned, I use that print and cut feature on the Cricut machine. I printed it on my computer and then I cut out this vinyl on my Cricut. So then all I need to do is slowly and ever so carefully, because this vinyl is very thin and kind of fragile, pull it off of the backing. I'm not going to use transfer tape because it'll pull the color off of the paper, but I'm just going to handle it ever so lightly and then follow the same process. So if I just ever so lightly touch it, I could already see that I put that on crooked. So I'm gonna peel it up and hope I don't rip it. Because like I said, it's so fragile. Whew, that was close. I ripped a label earlier today. All right, one more time, let's try it. This one's gonna be good. This is why it's helpful when I try to get over top of my cup so that I could line it up. There's probably a more scientific way to do it, but so I eye it, take a step back and look at it. If you're happy with the placement, then you start right in the middle and you smooth the edges. Now, if you get to this point and you realize that you've got a wrinkle or something in it, good luck trying to get it up. Because, man, I tell you, it sticks really well, but if you have to pull it up, it's thin and it tears so easily, this type of printable vinyl. So then that will be ready for epoxy. All right, so one more type to cut. We needed to do another 2 more medicine cups, one that has the name Leanne and the other one that has the name Dennis. And we need to do that Denora D in white with the name Shep. So I'm gonna go back to my canvas and Cricut. And I'm just gonna continue working off of the same canvas that I had. So if I go back to the canvas, I'm gonna delete the name Frank because we want all of this to be in white. And I'm gonna upload the names that I need that I already saved the image of. All right, so we know we need, let's see, let's find Shep. There we go, there's Shep. And we're gonna remove the white area. So we hit the remove button, remove Shep. Remove the white area around Shep and then in the middle of the P. Hit next. The edges look smooth enough to me. I don't think we need to do anything else with it. Next, we'll save it as a cut image. And then we'll select it to move it to our canvas. So the size for this one, so we know on the other one we did a 2-inch height. So let's try a 2-inch height with this name. That's gonna make it about 5.72 inches high. And so we'll go with that for now. So on the other ones, then we also needed the name Leanne. So let's find that one. That one I did, I know, in a fancier font. Let's see. There it is right there. So we hit the remove button. Select the white areas that we don't want. Hit next. It looks smooth enough, so I'm not going to do anything else. Save it as a cut image. And then we'll upload it to our canvas. So let's make this one, since this is a longer name, we'll do 1.5. And then the last name was Dennis, so we'll do the same thing. I'll find that picture of the font that I had created for the name Dennis. And it's right there. Remove the background. Remove the background, fingers. Oh, have to hit the remove button. Eventually I figure it out. All right, so it looks good. Hit the next button. And next, save it as a cut image. And move it to our canvas. All right, so this one is another longer name respectively. So let's do 1.5. That'll make it about 6 inches. That should be good as well. So now that we have all of our images, we want to make it. And Cricut will just arbitrarily put your images anywhere on the canvas. But if you want to save, your vinyl, you can reposition it, which is what I just did. So I repositioned it so that it's going to take up less or have less waste on the vinyl. So I have a roll of white ready to go. We may have to reposition it again because I did cut off of it before. So this is going to take, let's see how many inches. So it looks like this is going to take about 7 inches. So what I'm going to do is just stick the whole roll on there and move my words around a little bit so that I can get them to where they're going to fit. So Leanne being the longer word, I'm going to leave there, it'll print there, and then I'm going to start probably right around the 2-inch mark on Cricut so that we get it to a place where there's going to be vinyl to cut on the mat. So you can see the grid lines on the app match the grid lines on your mat rather. So then this word will come down to about 2 as well. And we cross our fingers and say a prayer and hope it cuts right. Typically, that's how it goes. I think this is probably some of the things that aid in my frustration and trying to deal with decals. All right, so we hit continue, and then we're going to feed this into our machine. And I'm going to turn my machine a little bit just so I don't have to hold the mat the whole time while it's cutting because this roll is at the bottom. And hit the little flashing button and off she goes. Anyone have any questions while we're waiting for Cricut to do its thing? So all of you who follow me, if you hear me talking about Decal Day, this is Decal Day. You've just got a great witness of Decal Day. It's a love-hate relationship. I definitely love my Cricut machine. It's really brought my creativity to the next level. And I also get frustrated with my Cricut machine because as any technology goes, sometimes the Bluetooth wants to act up a little bit, or sometimes the app wants to act up a little bit, and at that point I have to walk away and just come back another time. But for the most part, really enjoy working with the Cricut machine, and really love the output that it gives for the projects that I've been doing with the cups. So anyone who's new to Punkinworks, we're currently taking orders for Christmas. Yes, that's right, I said it, the C word. Christmas is right around the corner, and I've already started taking orders for Christmas coming up. So really excited about that. If you would like, you can see a sample of all of my work on punkinworks.com. or on my Punkinworks Facebook page, or even if you see any other cups out there, I can really just replicate. Hi Marianne, thanks for sharing. So Christmas orders are starting to come in. Cups from end to end take about 7 to 10 days. So if you are interested in purchasing a cup for a specific event or date, just keep that in mind that it does take about 7 to 10 days to complete a cup. Hi, Miss Lynn, thanks for joining. And I see Jacqueline and Bonnie and Luann, thank you for joining. Hopefully this is informative to all of you, but once Cricut's done cutting, we'll get the last few decals on these cups, and we'll have called it a good decal day. And there it is. All right. And it looks good. It looks like we cut just where we wanted to, and we'll just cut this piece off. And you see my edges are uneven just because I try and save as much vinyl as possible. Every little bit saved is a little bit of vinyl that I could use on another project. So now I'll go ahead and cut out around. Got a visitor. Sam 3 is in. See, he tricked you this time because you didn't hear him before you saw him before. So he tricked us all. Typically, you know how it is. You hear him before you see him, but he snuck around. So here's an extra piece of vinyl that I'll save for another project. And I cut out each graphic individually. I just think it's easier to manage and work with if you have smaller pieces at a time. And since we have 4 different things that we cut out at once, it's definitely a little bit easier. All right, so this one is Leanne. So I grabbed my weeding tool, and now we're just gonna pull gently away. My biggest piece of advice would definitely be to go really slow when you're pulling the vinyl, because if you pull it too fast and it catches an edge that you don't want to pull up, it could rip the vinyl. Which would cause you to be like me and have to recut it. All right, so there's Leanne. So here's our D. I find that it also helps if you work with a better vinyl. Some of the less expensive vinyls that I've used tend to be a little more difficult to work with. So this vinyl that I'm using is by a company called Oracle. It's Oracle 651, and the 651 I think is just the number that they use for the level of adhesive on it. So 651 is a permanent vinyl. There's a 351 vinyl that is, they call it wall vinyl because you can remove it. But for cups I use the 651 because I want the more stickier permanent vinyl. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this orange and black ombre comes out. So this cup, once again, I'm just checking my notes here, making sure it's right. So no glitter, orange and black ombre with the Denora D and the name Shep on it. So let's do that one first. So you see we've got all 3 of our names in our D lined up. And I'm going to reuse that same piece of transfer tape. Wrote on the D. Smooth it out. And then get my super fancy high-tech pool noodle with duct tape. Let's pull that D off of the backing. And then we're gonna just center over top of our cup so we can place it perfectly where we want it. So I try and find, like, if there's a part of the ombre that I maybe want to cover up. Like, this ombre looks pretty decent, so I think we'll put it right here. Let's put it right there. And we're just going to try and center it over the top. So just touch it lightly, step back and give it a good eye, make sure we like where it is, and then again, smooth from the middle. And push the edges down really well so that once we go to epoxy, it doesn't come up. I hear some little girl coming up with feelings hurt. There's drama with the kids. So, there we go. I like the colors together. Now let's do the same thing with the name. So we're gonna just ever so lightly pull it off of the backing and then line it up. So we've got the middle of our D here. And I'm gonna just take my 2 fingers and center it. Touch it lightly. Let's see. That's not as level as I would like it. And I just pulled it off and thankfully didn't rip. Let's try that. So that looks good. And smooth it down. All the edges are nice and smooth, and as we slowly pull up that transfer tape, we'll have it revealed. And there you have it. So on my names, I think it's just personal preference. I go, if you're holding the cup, from the bottom up, because I feel like if you're going to drink the cup, you go sideways and it just tips nice instead of tipping upside down the name. But again, just personal preference. And I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So the next step will be to put a couple layers of epoxy on it. 2, if not 3 layers of epoxy will go on these cups to make them nice and strong and durable. And there you have it. So, I think that's all we have for today with Decal Day. I successfully managed to get through Decal Day without any curse words. So yay me for the win today. Tune in next Tuesday, same time, same place. Well, we might be in the garage, probably be in the garage. But until then, give a like to Punkinworks and check out our website. And don't forget about those Christmas orders. We'll see you guys next week.